windows, and then some administrative matters, future meetings. So we'll start the meeting, and before we do, I'll have Emma give her speech on how you can join in.
Thank you, Dale. If you are watching and you would like to join via Zoom, we are at meeting ID 865-1264-6250, passcode 541553, or the link is in the agenda. You can also join by phone, 646-876-9923, with the same meeting ID and passcode. And this meeting is being recorded and broadcast by WACA. Thank you.
All righty. Okay. So means open. Who do we have from downtown? We have someone from.
So I think Peter's hoping to run that discussion, or at least introduce those materials, and he is not here yet. So if the 12 ponds representatives are here, maybe we can start with that agenda item, because those aren't timed. So
yeah, okay.
You can switch them.
We'll do that then. We'll start with since there's no time set for any of this, and so we'll do the review of 12 pond building color, first floor, and any other issues that we have.
Here's the Jim Chen is on, who's the architect, right, Dale?
Yeah, I see him now.
Hi.
Jim. We'll let Jim run over it, introduce it, and tell us what's going on, and then we'll start.
Trisha had something, Dale.
I was going to say, was Mr. Zamuto coming on as well? Did he want to partake in this as well? And I think Peter also has a role to play, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's best to go on right now without some key players, but that's just a little input.
Okay.
Jim,
because if it's just the colors and the colors and windows, I think we can do that without Pete. But if there's some other issues that I don't know, he might want to have some input.
Hello.
Joe?
Mr. Zamuto, is that you?
Yes.
Oh, it just says iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
When that says done speaking, they can't hear you.
Okay.
So I think for the part that Pete needs to be involved in is Trish was
that should be fine. I just wanted to make sure everyone was here.
I talked to him today, and he said he said go ahead and go.
Okay.
With it, and then he would join in when he can.
Okay.
And if there's anything, it's just a review and a discussion, so he can come back, or we can come back to it, I think.
Okay.
If he needs to insert anything. But first, I think we can go over the colors and windows. I think there's some updates on that, so I'll let Mr. Chen take over here and tell us where we're at.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Here's the latest color schemes on the elevations. Majority of the colors, as we propose, is the dark gray color.
Yeah. Trish, are we going to talk about what's already up there now? Like, I know you brought up last week.
Yeah.
Can we just let him
because
we'll just let him do the presentation, and then we're going to start from where we're at. So see what he has to say about this, and he'll tell you what's there, I believe.
Okay.
And then if not, we'll start asking questions. Thanks.
Okay, so the majority of the color is the dark gray, as what we proposed previously. And we're coming back to you for the garage door that's showing on the front elevation. Previously was shown as a storefront windows. And Charlie, the developer, wants to change these the storefront into a garage door type. So this is what it actually is going to be.
Hey, excuse me, Jim.
Yes.
Just to be a little bit more specific on the color, you keep saying dark gray. Could you give us the exact name of that color as is defined by the manufacturer?
It's called Slate Gray by James Hardy.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's three primary colors there. The gray you see here is the slate gray, and the brown, sort of a brown yellowish color, is the khaki brown. So in the front elevation, those are the two main colors. And at the corner here, that towel is the turns the corner is also the slate gray. And then on the second floor of this side is the khaki brown. And then on the bottom is the beige color.
What's it called?
I don't know the exact, hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, because we should be more specific when we talk about this.
Let me just pull that one up.
And just so everyone knows, I believe, because I was just over there the other day, these are the colors that are up now.
Let's
These are
leave
the
that.
color that's up now.
Yeah.
It's called the Navajo beige.
Navajo.
Navajo beige, yep.
Okay. Again, all by James Hardy, Hardy Plank, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then the rear,
Can you go back? Can you go back for a moment to the previous? No, please finish. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up.
okay. All right. So the rear, the second floor is that Navajo beige. The bottom level is the, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. The second floor is the khaki brown. The bottom floor is a Navajo beige. The bays are this gray, slate gray. And then turning to the other end of the building, that second floor is the slate gray. And then on the bottom floor is the Navajo beige.
And just to clarify, because I don't know, I think everybody's about to look at it, the two bays in the back window that they put up was the brown, the khaki.
Yeah,
right now, but they're going to paint it to be the factory match. The factory will send them the paint to paint it to the gray to match this.
that's correct, yes.
And I'm just clarifying what's already up there right now. So if anyone looked at it, this differs from that a little bit, what's up there.
So,
okay, go ahead, Mr. Chin.
That's it. That's all the colors on the building.
So,
Go ahead.
So this drawing, this rendering is factually incorrect with the building as it currently has been built. On the right side with the tower, there is another elevator. That's not an elevator shaft, but it is a roof access point on the far right side. So what, and if you look at the construction drawings, that roof access is visible in the construction drawings, but it's not visible in this rendering. Can you go to the construction drawing, please, Jim? Whoever has a TV on, could you please mute?
Oh my God, why is this? I just did it on my phone.
Is it working?
This is me, right?
Huh?
I mean, I have them up. Do you want me to share them, Jim?
Oh, I have it right here.
Okay,
Can you guys see the screen?
now
Yeah.
we can, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking to see the side view of the building from the tower end.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
So yeah, can you click the dark arrow to hide the side pane so we can just see it a little bit larger? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Nope. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to annotate just to make it clear. So this structure right here is not in your renderings that you're showing us, right?
That's correct. Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. So what color is that going to be, Jim?
That's going to be the slate gray.
Okay. Got it. So there'll be a slate gray box right there, right?
That's correct. And then, yeah, that's correct.
It is it's difficult for the board, right, to right, when the renderings are not consistent with what's actually built, it does make it more difficult, Jim. Okay. Anyway, I'll leave that be for now. But
And I don't know if it looks like the earlier renderings on the rear side had 4 kind of those projections, and it looks like now it's 2 that's constructed. So that's kind of modification that I don't know how we incorporate. So the other rendering, the other elevation, it looks like the earlier renderings had 4 kind of plus, I think it's the rear elevation, right, Jim?
That's correct. And what happened is that we were referring to the wrong set of drawings, and the construction shows the 2 bump outs, and that's what they built on site. And
how, Jim? How can you speak to how that happened?
wrong drawing was printed. It's a stupid mistake on all parties. I take the blame for it, and yeah, it's a stupid mistake.
So I'm looking here on the one side drawing right below it. It looks like it shows that elevator box.
Yeah.
But it's up forward more. Is it the reason why it shows up on the structural drawings is that it's actually back further?
There's 2. So there's 2, Dale. I think the one in the center is the elevator shaft, I believe, and the one on the far end that we were just talking about is, I believe, stair roof access. Jim, can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So there's 2 bumps that you, yeah.
The ones that's not shown up, those stair accesses.
Because the stair access, I think, is hidden behind the elevator shaft in this view, right? Looking straight across, right?
It's somewhere behind here. Yeah.
I didn't notice that, Joe. When you drive by, I guess you don't see it up there.
You can't see the elevator shaft one unless you could fly, basically. But the stairs you can see from the ground because it's so close to the edge.
Excuse me, the elevator shaft is over the roof line. I believe it's 5 feet. over the roof, actual roof line. So the parapet walls, like if you're standing on the sidewalk across the street, I
Yep.
believe you won't see it because of the parapet walls are up high.
And it hides it.
Yeah, it hides it. The other thing that you're referring to is the second staircase. So, which was on the construction plan. You just didn't put it on the color rendering.
Yeah, and on the construction plan, it tends to disappear a little bit into the texture of the roof shingles. So it's true, I don't think we hardly even noticed it because we never saw that in a rendering. And we never saw it being a different color. Otherwise, in the black and white drawings, it just kind of disappeared. So,
Can I speak so we don't get too far into the color of the building?
mhm.
I'm like personally, I'm not happy with the colors of the building. And what happened was me and my lead guy, Val, were on site. And when we picked the colors, the plans that we pulled up on the phone, we try to match the hardy plank siding as close as we could to the colors from the iPhone. So when we picked the colors from the iPhone, we were trying to get it as close as possible as we could. So that from plan to plan, the colors do change. And to be honest, like I'm really not happy with the colors. And I've been telling Pete this since the beginning, since we started. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I missed the last meeting with a family emergency, but I was hoping that we could at least pick the roof color now. And then I'd like to have maybe Trish, you come out and look at the building so we could see it as a whole, because of the roof color is, we want everything to look nice and we want the colors to look nice and the whole building to look nice. And the hardy plank siding is made of a cement board material, which is, you can buy it primed or painted. And we elected to buy it painted because it's easier to put up. And it's one less step we have to do in the field. But I'm not stuck on the colors of the building, and I would be willing to paint the building any color. But I want, as the board and myself and Jim and everybody, we want this building to look beautiful. And I'm just afraid, mulling over these stock colors that we picked from Hardy board might not be the right thing to do. Trish, if you could, I know you have experience with this, if you want to meet me at the site, but I believe if we get the roof shingles on, then we can get a better feel of what the paint colors are going to really look like, because they might not look good with the roof shingles that we pick. This honestly, this is the first time this has ever happened. Usually we pick colors and they're fine. But the problem with Hardy is that you're stuck with when you order their colors that are already painted, you're stuck with those colors. Not that you're stuck with them, but that's what they sell you. So, we can paint over it with the special paint that the manufacturer recommends.
Yeah, I appreciate that attitude of really wanting this building to really look good. I'm very familiar with Hardy. I specified it myself on my own house. I think I used some Navajo beige on it. So I think that it's kind of just making sure we look at everything now. And that might be what we have to do is paint it, because there's a few levels of concern here that we don't want to continue on this project or on any future projects. And that is, for instance, this set of drawings with these colors that were being shown here is not the current set of drawings. So it just kind of shows a real lack of attention to detail. There are things on here on this set, window configurations that we agreed to changes on the construction documents. You had made the changes from the original approved drawings, and we looked at them and we said, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's go with it. And now we're back to what we looked at 6 months ago. So it's a little strange to have these kind of really weird mixed drawings. So that's just one thing to just please review what you're showing us, so that we're not looking at a design from 6 months ago and then colors from this morning.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
So the reason why we had Jim redo the plans with those colors is because that's what's in the field. And weeks ago, I stressed to Peter that, I don't like these colors. This is how I came up with these colors. Because he was asking me, where did you get these colors? Look at this. when we went to his office and he printed out the plan that does not match. And from doing it from an iPhone and doing it from a color printer, Trish, you should, you're in this field, that the ink from a color printer doesn't match with the, it's close,
Exactly.
but it's close. And I know we're way far off. And, I think that, like I said, my opinion, if you guys are okay with it, let's pick the roof color and then we look at the paint colors, because I don't think that the paint colors are correct for that property. And I mean, if you guys are okay with that, that's, I'm willing. I don't care about paint in the building. That's not a big deal.
Can we switch to the front view of the building again?
Before we, okay, yeah, that's fine. I cover it later. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just about making a point here that I think was missed. These drawings that we are looking at today, right now, as current, they're current because they have the doors, the roll top doors, or whatever they're called, installed in this drawing. This is the first time we have seen those in the drawing, right? But this building is not how the building is built. This is the wrong set of drawings that you've rendered. You've chosen an old set of drawings and you're showing us a rendering on an old set of drawings, because this is different, because I was out there this morning or this afternoon and this isn't what's there. So when you show us something for today, please have your own work match what's on the site.
So Trish, am I still on phone?
Yeah.
All right. So what happened was the plans got sent to the print shop were wrong. And it was,
I get it. But this, what I want to see today, if I was looking at this today, would be the colors you're proposing.
Yep.
And the building that was actually built. This is not the building that was built.
And the thing comes down. So when Jim came out to the field 2 weeks ago, we walked through the building and we realized there was an issue. And we actually told Peter about it. And we talked to Pete. And then we had a meeting out at the site and we showed him, about the 4 bump outs in the back. And what happened was the plans that we built off of are the original plans that we submitted. And those are the plans that were submitted to the building departments as well. And that, out of all of us, none of us caught that. And
I mean, I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. If you see the box on this drawing, those windows don't look like that on the site. This is an old set.
Yep.
So we did approve what you have built in that rectangle out on the site. It's different from here. It is what we approved, that part of it. But this is you're showing us the wrong rendering. You got to show us what's built, unless you want us to say, tear these dormers off and make it like this.
Okay.
You understand? This is not the building that's on site.
So, I mean, we were more focused on the colors to get them on the page.
I understand, but when you are opening, someone is intentionally opening the wrong set of drawings and making changes to them.
Yes.
That just says to me, no attention to detail. Why should I look at a drawing that's half right? Right? So it's important. And it just keeps happening that there's these strange, which set of drawings are we actually looking at? So that should just be an easy thing. You show the building as it is built, so that we can look at it and then see if the colors make sense.
Jim, can you pull up the construction drawings and show that detail, please?
See? That's how it's built. I have a picture of it on my phone, right, that I'm looking at.
Did you put that up, or did Jim have that up? Jim,
Jim's presenting. Jim's doing it.
So, that's what we built, is built off.
That's what you built.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what we approved.
Yes. Okay.
But but it's strange to now look at colors on something that's 6 months old. You know, the drawings you're showing us, I think were probably from June.
Okay, so
Or before.
so we recognize there is a problem with the plans that got mixed up, and we apologize for that. So I mean, if we should still be able to look at the colors if you want, or the roof color, and try to determine that.
Yeah, I understand that you're interested in the roof color so you can continue on some exterior aspect of the roof. And to do that, we, you know, the basic color that we need to understand is that gray. The hard part is, and this is the hard part of these colors, right? Then I went back and I listened to the meeting where we approved these construction drawings. And I listened to this 2 hours ago. I listened to this meeting because that's how important it is. And we talked about the colors. We talked about how we were going to look at them, you know, samples in person. We talked about how important it was that we followed the original colors that were given. And the original colors given aren't even, I mean, the gray is there. It's lighter on the original drawings. But the other ones, yeah, are kind of just a shot at what's there. And so the way our system was set up 6 months ago, we talked about this, was to choose colors, let us all see them for real, right? And then we have time to talk about them and make sure they're right. And if that was done, you yourselves would have known that the Hardy board colors or Hardy plank colors didn't match your original presentation. And then you would have come back and said, you know, we have a different presentation. We have a different color proposal because what we rendered just isn't available in Hardy plank. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Because I'm looking at those drawings in front of me too. And so the whole process of just choosing some colors and going with it was totally against what we talked about 6 months ago when we were trying to deal with 128 screwing up. It's really frustrating.
So, well, I think what we need to do here, really, I think what we need to do here is just assume that the siding that's on there is just prime. They're going to paint it because we're focused on what's up there because like it's permanent, but they can paint. You know, you get the siding, a lot of times it's prime, you paint it whatever color you're going to paint it.
I agree with that. And that's like that's the moving forward answer. But as we go forward with process,
yeah,
it has to be better than this. I agree. When we talked about the construction drawings, feeling really good about this project.
I agree.
In the last month, my feelings about the project have just tanked because of what I'm seeing out there.
So, but my thing is like if we look at it rather than, okay, they put the wrong colors up or they're not what we wanted or not on the plan, is just it's a primer siding building. We need to decide what colors, but you're right, we need to see what it looks like with the proposed colors. Is that what that's what you're saying, right?
I think there's a lot of things that need to be said here.
I'd like to hit pause for 1 second, and I want to say something out loud, and I want us to be consistent, and I'm stepping off the colors for a second, right? So, you know, Mr. Zamuto and Jim, you know, I appreciate you guys saying, hey, we had a problem in the back of the building. It didn't get built. What got built is not what was in the plans. And I appreciate you guys bringing that to Peter and being mature enough and ethical enough to bring that to Peter's attention. And so I thank you for that. And I appreciate that. You know, that said, I think that before we go on to have this color discussion, I think we just need to, as a board, you know, we're kind of just blowing past the 4 towers in the back, right? So I'm not here. I don't believe that we should rip down the back of the building and put the 4 towers up and do what the plan said. I think it's the rear of the building. I was there today. I think it still looks good. I think it's still going to be a great building and a great project. I just want us to say, because of the 128 discussion and experience and the standard to which we held 128, I think that this board, for at least a couple of minutes, just needs to say, okay, like I'm kind of just going on record saying, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you bringing it forward. I'm gravely frustrated and concerned that the wrong stuff got printed and the wrong thing got built. That said, I don't want to ask you to rip it apart and put it back together. But I think as a board, we should agree that we should find out that we're in agreement that we don't want to go that path. And I think we need to I think it should be quick here, but I think we should just put that one to bed and then come back to the color or wherever we are with that conversation. But I think in the interest of being fair and consistent with applicants, like, I think we should at least just spend 2 minutes on that.
And really quick, is there anyone else have any other major differences in the building? I mean,
There's another big difference in the building, and that's the windows. The bottom windows, which were not approved. We started to look at the rolling windows. We were waiting to see them in this configuration. Again, I wrote the date down. I believe the last time we saw this project was in June.
So, but what I'm saying is that any differences that were from what was approved, because
Yes,
we
so
still have to approve the windows and the colors. So like what Joe was saying, if something was built wrong, we need to address that, any issues with that first. And once the building is the way it's supposed to be, or the way we're gonna have it, then we can address the ones that we left open, which are the colors and the windows, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So the building as built now today on site has been built to fit in the rolled doors as shown on today's drawings. But note that the amount of glass has been reduced both horizontally and vertically in the new plan. And that's the way it's framed and sheathed out. You know, it's not what we're seeing here.
Can I speak
on
that?
Not yet approved those roll top doors. I don't remember talking about, hey, I'd like less glass. But it's all framed for less glass.
Can I speak on that for a second, please?
Yes, go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, so the very last meeting we had in person for this project, when we talked about restaurants going in there, I mentioned the roll-up windows, which I've used in another project, and I mentioned it to the board. I believe the next day after, I emailed them to Emma and Beth maybe, and Pete, or to Mike Christofuli. I forget, but I took pictures, and I emailed them over. So I know we talked about that before, and everybody was okay with it, but there was never drawings or anything. The reason why the openings are the way they are is because if you look at the trim board down, there's a 2-foot thick steel beam, a structural steel beam that runs across not around the whole building, across those openings that holds up those walls. So there's an actual 2-foot steel beam. And then the doors themselves come in intervals of, I don't know if the garage door window guy designs them, and we try to get them for the biggest openings they could for that area. So the door got centered on that, like if you're looking at the opening to the far right of the building, the door got centered on that, and there's the roll-up windows to each side. So those came from the manufacturer, how big they could make the openings for that size, for those sizes of roll-up windows.
Yeah, I can understand all that. I can understand your process, but your process doesn't align with our process. And if you go back and watch that videotape for the meeting on July 22nd, I believe it was. So when we discussed this, we discussed seeing the windows in the drawing. It was talked about that we wanted to see those doors in the drawing because they varied so in appearance with all the horizontal lines than what we had been seeing. Also, they go all the way to the ground. We talked about that in the meeting. So we talked about being able to see this in a drawing before we were going to approve it. So
Okay.
that was 6 months ago. And now it's all framed out lower with more brick, with less opportunity for glass. And we need to make some kind of quick decision on it when we had 6 months to look at this. That's what I don't get. Those doors have not been approved. Those rolled glass, that has not been approved.
I think that just the way the drawings look, Jim, can you go back to the drawings? Or actually, Jim, can you give us the measurements? All right, on this picture here to the far right, what's the measurement from the edge of the door to the edge of the corner? I think we measured it was 3 feet, right?
The exact dimension is 4'2".
And what about to the right, to the left side?
Same dimension.
Okay, so can you go back to that other drawing that you just had up?
This isn't even the most recent drawing, because in the most recent drawing, those doors in the glass were centered and the windows, the glass panes were all made the same size. Like this isn't even the most up-to-date construction drawing that you showed us.
So the drawing that Jim showed you 2 weeks ago, I didn't get him a picture of the garage doors. So I got him a picture of the garage doors. I actually sent those to Pete too a long time ago. And I don't know, did you get pictures of them actually in place in another project?
I think we did. I think we did look at pictures at the time. I'm not sure if I'd have to go back 6 months and look.
Okay.
But the point is that it never was looked at and approved in a planning board meeting. That's the only way things get approved. It's not just sending a picture around via email.
Okay, well, I take responsibility for that. I assumed it was okay, and that I got my impression was that it was fine to get them and do it, and that's what I did.
So that's why I'd like to start. I think it's a much bigger question again than just piecemealing it. Like there is not one drawing we have so far that kind of accurately shows what's there.
Jim, can you go to do you have a picture that I sent you of the actual garage doors so everybody can see them in the other project?
I do, yeah. Hold on one sec.
Looking at Peter.
Peter, you're doing the good work, bud.
Jim, can you show the actual photo? Is that the photos I sent you?
Yep.
I can't see them.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a building I just finished. If you look at these openings. So this particular building, when the windows roll up, there's two sacks that stay in place, and the window rolls up and they hide behind that.
Right.
On the building on Pond Street, they were designed so one sash would stay in place, and then the windows roll up and hide into the drop ceiling of the space. If you look at the actual door, we made it so that the door, there's a sash across the top of the door that lines up with the top sash of those. So when the garage doors are all rolled up, there's a line of glass down the whole building. And, I guess I took it upon myself to do that without understanding that it wasn't okay, but I apologize for that too.
But that is what you talked about in the meeting,
Yes.
that part of it would stay stationary and part
Yep.
of it would move. But we did not talk about in the meeting that the area of glass would get shorter and the area of glass would get narrower on the building. We did not talk about that because it didn't go into that much detail.
I don't think it got narrower, maybe just a little bit shorter, but without, if you look at the difference between the two plans,
Well, if you can go back to the plans now or the drawings of today, you'll see that there's this whole area of gray siding that goes down to the ground, which we have never seen before. And it goes down to the ground next to the brick. And I don't know where that came from.
When we met with Pete out at the site, he said that your concern was that there was too much brick in that area. And maybe we misunderstood him, but that's what we took, that maybe you wanted something different for materials there. So
we haven't seen it before. I don't know when any of us could have said that.
Well, that we misunderstood that then. Jim, can you pull up the construction drawings and show us the front with the windows?
I'm just saying that it's obvious that the windows are smaller because before we didn't have any of this siding going to the ground. We didn't have a big expanse of brick. It wasn't there.
That's the same size. It was brick. If you go back to the original plans.
I am looking at the original drawings right here. The original drawings, meaning the ones that went back to the approval.
Jim, can you pull those up, please?
Yep, hold on 1 second.
So I believe these are dated. To zoom in to see it.
Can you get me a pen?
I think we just need to look at the approved plans, the approved drawings.
The approved plans have a date on them of 3/9/19 and a revision date on them of 11/30/19.
Now, I think aren't the approved plans dated 7/13/20?
I believe I got my dates off of the agreement.
This is Perrier, not Corona or Heineken.
I'm just looking from the website. They have the final plans, and they're stamped and approved, and it shows it has the elevations and the renderings of that. And I'm trying to see what date. 11/30/19.
Yep, the revision date is 11/30.
The last revision date is. Revision 3 was 11/30/19, and that's the ones that are.
Are we trying to agree on the final construction drawings? Is that what we're trying to determine, guys?
No, I think we're looking at two things. We're looking at the final renderings as approved when the special permit was granted. And then there's that other set of construction drawings that we reviewed pretty intensely.
And things changed from that review.
Things changed in a good way at that point.
So can you pull those plans up?
The couple things that were left out were the colors and the rolling doors, windows at that time. And both of those things have proceeded without approval. And neither of them reflect what we approved with the special permit. That's my problem.
Okay, so yes, you are correct. This plan here is different from, I don't have this plan. So you are correct.
I'm not saying we can't find a solution, but I think we have to understand that there are differences here, significant differences that were not approved and that we wanted to see, that we asked very specifically to see.
Yep.
And we had 6 months for you to present them to us. But they weren't presented to us. Instead, you just went ahead and started building something that wasn't approved. That's my problem. And going through 128 was so painful, and we couldn't believe that we're here again, doing this again.
I apologize for that. We didn't do anything intentional to do anything to undermine the board. And I'm not happy about it myself. And it was just a mistake.
Just a quick question. Is there anything, because the drawings that we're seeing tonight with the 4 or 5 feet of brick on each side of the windows, obviously like the one we're looking at now, there's a lot more window. I understand the top part, if there was some structural, I mean, it probably should have been known that before the plans were submitted, I mean, approved, but the width of the windows and the doors centered in the middle, it's all glass. Is that any of that area structural?
No, I can cut another section into that wall and put another, go back, Jim, can you go back to the plans we're working off of for tonight?
I think we
So
gotta.
these
get
would be the
one-
construction drawings dated 7/13. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Zamudo?
So we can cut this wall open and add another section of roll up or permanent fixed windows to match what we're proposing. So we can cut this wall open more towards the corner, inner corner, and add more lights to it.
So you're saying you're saying here, Mr. Zamudo, you can cut that open?
Do you see where the red and gray meet, the red brick and the gray?
Yes.
On the sides of the windows there.
Yeah, so we can cut that wall open and add.
And slide everything over so there's not as much on the corner too, maybe.
No, so there's a steel beam. So on the side of the garage door here, right? There's a steel beam that comes down.
Like here?
You see where the garage, I call it the roll-up window meets the red brick?
Yes.
I don't know how to get onto the screen. There's a steel beam that comes down. So we could make probably a 12-inch space and then put another section of windows in. So Trish, for the large openings, we had the structural engineer had to design a beam that would carry this whole building. So the windows that were on those drawings that we seen earlier, all the structural members, the trusses, are sitting on that wall. So that's why there had to be a structural beam that runs across that wall to hold up the floors above.
Right.
So when he gave us the design of that beam, it's almost 2 feet thick. So that's why it's lower than it is.
Yeah. So you're saying, so Mr. Zamudo, you're saying the reason there's less window above the doors is because in that wall is a 2 foot
structural beam.
2 foot piece of steel structurally holding all of this, right? Bearing
The
that load.
second, third floor, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, but
So-
usually some of that is buried in the floor. Like usually that beam is the floor. Like, so if your floor, I think when you made the building shorter, I believe the floor depth went to 14 inches or something like that. So there's 14 inches of the 2 feet right there. I'm not saying how all of this should happen, but when we looked at the construction drawings,
Yeah.
the construction drawings as submitted for a building permit, I assume had final structure in there.
So
They didn't look like this.
When
So
you looked at the plans, the structural engineer didn't do the plans till after these plans were approved, because there's no reason for the structural engineer to design structural on a set of plans that wasn't approved.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about construction drawings.
Yeah,
as
no, the
submitted for a building permit now.
The construction drawings have the structural steel in there.
All right, and we're here, but this is a quick question. So are you saying that the doors are up, the opening for the roll-up doors is as high as it possibly can go on this drawing?
It's as high as it can go, yes.
There's no room above that to go?
Nope.
Okay.
If we go out to the site, you'll see that that top window is going to be right against the bottom of the steel beam. So we can add another set of windows
Here?
in the corner, but there'll be a little space. So you see how there's a space between the door
Yep.
and the windows on each side?
Yeah.
It'll mimic that.
Great. Because there's a vertical beam that's sitting here, you're saying.
Yeah, there's a,
Yeah.
I don't, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, draw.
Right next to the door
Yes.
on the end of each side of
Yeah.
that opening.
So the reason that the beam had to be so big is because that whole beam is carrying the second and third floor and the roof. So all the way to the
Right.
building on that beam.
Right,
So-
but it
so
didn't
just-
have to. It could have had some posts down. There are other solutions. It didn't have to span the whole place. Put a couple posts down in between the door and the window. Right? So it wasn't the only solution. So from my point of view, what I think is that it's not about correcting this, correcting that, correcting this, correcting that. It's about looking at the big picture again.
Yeah,
What you have now, we don't want to move steel around. I know that that's not fun. Wood can be moved around pretty easily, right?
Yep.
So to look at where we are now, what's really, really hard to change, what's a pain in the butt to change, but you could do it. You know, it's no fun to undo work in order to make a product that looks just as good as the one we approved. And I don't think we're there. I think like I said, I think we're really pleased when we came out of the meeting 6 months ago with the changes that were made and kind of the excitement about these rolled doors, and that could be an interesting thing. And then it went the other direction, which is unfortunate.
Would you be able to drive to my project in Medford just to see how these things are? And I mean, when you see them,
I don't have any problem with those windows. I've always liked them. I like the pictures of them. I like the pictures you're showing of them. I want to see them in this building from the outside. I mean, if this is the way they look from the outside, we're losing something. We're losing glass. We're losing kind of the approachability of the building. And I'm wondering what
I think this drawing doesn't, looking at it on paper, doesn't give it any justice. It's going to be much, you know, in the fields, it's much more, you know, you get more of a wow factor in the fields.
I have no problem with the doors, no problem. What I have problems with is the amount of brick we now have. We certainly can't have that little chute of gray siding that goes down to the ground. Like, that's like, what? You know, that has to come out. And so now is that brick again? You know, so what?
We can put
we
can put more glass in there.
Well, then let's see it, right? Let's see it.
Can we meet out at the field, you and I, and just do a walkthrough, please?
I can. You mean at 12 Pond?
Yes.
Yeah, I can. But I mean, I'm only one person on the committee, and I think everyone's going to obviously want to see the changes. Everyone needs to see how the building can come together. I mean, there's even quite questions like, yeah, with these towers, now we have one door. Before we had, I thought, 3 sets of double doors. And now we have no double doors anywhere. So there's really quite a few changes that have been made.
Well, we shrunk the doors down to maximize the space of the door, the windows that'll open up, to liven the space up to make it more, you know, open. And Jim, how big is the space between the windows in the corner? Is 6 feet, you said?
Which one?
Where the red and the gray are on the other side, next over more. Huh?
In between these, the white portion?
No, keep going over more to the right there, yeah.
Right here?
Yep.
It's about 8 feet.
8 feet? So we could make that whole thing glass.
So I think
let's see in the drawing.
Right.
You know, we approved a drawing. We want to see it in a drawing.
In the approved drawing, the one that we approved, I'm looking back and forth. There's so many different drawings on different dates. It would be nice to see the actual approved drawing, which is what the building looks like, because I think it matches all the windows and stuff above. I mean, the second and third floor.
No. Remember that what we're looking at now does not match what's on the site.
No, but is this the approved? Is these the approved drawings?
This is the approved drawing from when we approved the special permit. It's not the approved drawing from when we looked at it 6 months ago, when we looked at the construction drawings and made some changes.
Can we pull
the renderings are not the renderings we're looking at are showing a building that do not represent the final construction drawings that we approved.
And do we have those? Do we have those somewhere?
Jim, can you pull up the plans we pulled the permit off of?
Somebody built them off of some set of plans.
Yeah.
These are the 7/13. Can you zoom in on the lower date? The final approved construction drawings have a 7/13 date stamp on the bottom.
4/1.
I don't see any text there. In the version I have, it says 7/13 is the version that I asked for the final approved construction drawings, and Emma provided me a set of construction drawings that are dated JC Plan Revision 7/13/20, and that timing coincides with the time we spent this summer dealing with and making the final changes to the construction drawings, right? So we said we want to look at the final construction drawings before it starts. We looked at them. We said, oh, wow, this is different than what we approved. We adjusted the building height. We dealt with some window things. We did a few odds and ends. The 7/13 drawings are the final construction drawings, and that's what we should look at if we can, Jim. I have them up if you want me to put them up.
I have it ready. Hold on one
Okay.
second.
And just to be clear, we do not have a set of renderings right now that are
But show that.
consistent with what is actually physically there. They're not the renderings are not consistent with the 7/13 approved drawing.
Yeah, I think we were working off the April 1st drawings.
I think you're right, Mr. Zamuto, yes.
Joe, are the 713 drawings not on the website? Because I couldn't find that on the website. I see one in May and one in September.
Yeah.
Not the 713 ones.
Yeah, it's not there.
And so Emma sent them. Did you send them to everybody, Emma?
Yep, I sent the plans to the board, but I'm updating the website now. Sorry about that. I didn't realize.
Yeah, so Emma sent them about probably 4 or 5 o'clock today, Deepa and Lakshmi.
Yeah, and Deepa, can you look under building permit plan set? I think it is
I'll share my screen.
there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Deepa, if you look under building plan set, I think that's the approved plan. It has the 7/14 date on it.
Got it. Thank you.
Here, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So these are the approved plans. So the date here, I'm going to zoom in a second, is 7/13. These are the final plans. Okay.
Okay.
What do we want to look at?
Can you shrink
Front of
that
the
down, like
building.
the facade of the building on those plans, please?
Front of it.
Can you go to the front of the building?
Yep, I'm working on it. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so for the front, besides the lowest level, I believe this is what the building looks like, besides the lowest level. The windows are as they are on this elevation. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, besides the lowest level.
So yeah, and when you're saying the lowest level, specifically
floor.
these pieces right here. Can you guys see?
Yeah, but all the way across.
Yeah,
You know,
correct.
there's
Okay.
windows all the way across.
There
So
maybe
if
there's
you
something
look
with-
at the brick on each side of these windows, it's pretty consistent to what we have out in the fields now.
So does that mean the door, because it has double doors, when you put the roll-up door, it changed the door size?
So if you look, Dale, if you're looking at the first bank of windows to the far right,
Yeah.
let's start that
I
side.
see that, but it's the same amount of brick, but it looks like there's a lot more window in there than with the roll-ups.
Yeah,
So
the window goes up.
Jim, can you tell us how big the brick is right there? To the side of those that
So you're asking for the dimensions of this
brick?
brick.
Yeah.
Which width? I can't see your mouse. This one here?
You can't see the annotations I'm putting on the screen?
I can see it.
The orange
Yeah,
arrow.
I can see it. Hold on one second, okay? Let me just open the. Which one? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna open it up. It's about 6'3"
Okay, and how much is it, Jim, on the other plan?
on the
The
current plan.
And
Yeah.
so another thing I'm looking at too that might be, I kind of did the underneath the two little main, I guess, that pop out there. You have entry doors, double entry doors. Is there? It looks like if you on the new one you're putting a roll up next to one door. Is that? Would it make sense to just leave the double doors there because it's an entry rather than open it and then have a door closed right next to it?
No, so Dale, we'll go through that in a second.
Okay.
I'll explain.
I'm just trying to figure out what looks different
Yeah.
because when I'm looking at both of them, the area above the windows, there's definitely more brick. But when I'm looking at the one that you gave us today, which isn't really accurate on most of the other building, but the bottom, the brick sizes look about the same.
Yeah, so,
But it
all
doesn't
right,
look, but it doesn't look the same. And I'm wondering if it's because those entry doors, if it's an entry door, maybe it needs to be an entry door and not a roll up next to a door.
so the next one, so the next bank over where the double door is, I
Yeah.
believe we moved that door over, put a single door so we could get a roll-up door, because these are supposedly it's gonna be two separate spaces. But right now we have one tenant looking at renting the whole space, a restaurant. So we moved the door over to make it so it would be a roll-up door for that space too. And the next bank over.
Because just looking at the two different ones, I mean, I think it looks better having just the double doors there. I don't know. I was just finding out what that reasoning was for that little roll up door next to a door, because the door won't open, right? Just the roll up part.
No, the door will open too. So in the winter you use the door, in the summer the roll-up doors will be open.
But I mean, if you roll up the door, the other door is still there, right? It doesn't go up or down or move.
No, the door is still there. Jim, did you ever get that measurement? Or you're trying to figure it out?
No, I did gave it to you, the 6'2".
So, all right, and what is it on, what we have in the field now?
What currently we have is 8'2".
Okay, so it's 2 feet different.
Now, just really quick, just throwing this out there because it's obviously there's a lot more brick on this new one you gave us tonight. Is there a way to, I don't know how tinted those windows are or whatever, is there a way to, rather than put brick up there, just put another pane of glass that doesn't open or look in, but just to make it look like the glass goes all the way up? You know what I'm saying?
Is the steel beams there, right?
But if you're gonna put brick in front of it, can't you put a glass panel that you can't really see through, but it's glass or some? I'm just throwing that out there where the window looks bigger because the top panel on these roll-up doors is fixed anyway.
Yeah,
So
it
if you
can
had
be.
It could be a
panels going up instead
spandrel glass or something like that.
That's right. It's called spandrel glass. You can see it on like the John Hancock building, right? They hide all the floors by putting spandrel glass. So
I'm just saying something like that. Instead of having one fixed row across the top, you had two, and one of them just had the beam behind it, and the other one you could let light in. But from the outside, it would look like it's a nice big.
Dale, we can put, even if we can take that opening's 8 feet, we can put trim, because you want trim in the corner. So we could put like a 12-inch trim. Well, actually, we take whatever is beside the doors that are in the other drawing. I'm not sure, it might be 10 inches. So we put a 10-inch trim board on each side and add a whole nother section of roll-up doors in there.
Yeah.
So that whole
I'm
section.
talking about the height part of it, going up above the top of the doors here on the new drawing. There's a lot of brick compared to this because of that beam is there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying there's a fixed row that's not going to open on the top. The top of those doors, you said the top row is fixed and it doesn't open. Can you put two rows up there and one of them is just in front of the beam and then the other one underneath of it lets the light into the inside, but from the outside it looks like the glass window goes all the way up? I'm just throwing that out. I don't know how. I see buildings that are all glass, but I don't know.
Okay, so here's the story with the way these windows work. they're set back. So if you got an opening, like a garage door, the door opens on the inside of the building. So the section of glass that is fixed is under the beam. So the beam overhangs, I don't know how deep those beams are, 12 inches, half the face of the glass.
Okay, so you can't really put anything up
Yeah,
there.
I know what you're saying, and it's a
Yeah,
good
okay,
idea.
that's why I was asking. I was just asking if that was a possibility, but
The other thing I could do is we could build a whole panel there and make it like a sign panel, you know, a nice flat spot. Or we could build something fancy there to put all lights hanging down, like a nice trimmed out board, you know, like the signage board that shows on the next doorway over. We could make that whole thing like that.
and this is just my opinion, because to me the brick above the doors is more of a concern than on the sides of it. The sides it's like an accent going down the sides, but once you put it across the top, it's like a whole brick floor's all brick, and it's a lot of brick. I think, in my opinion, it looks better with a little more sparse on the brick. And the hardest thing is above that door is just a lot. That whole bottom just looks like brick now. So I don't know. I just throwing out the.
No, I think that's valid, Dale. I think here's the thing. It's like when we had these kind of just normal windows, right? You can see that there is no trim between the window and the brick, right? They just fit right next to the brick. You don't need this big piece of white trim. If you look at the new rendering with all of the roll up windows, now we have all this white trim that also, you know, would have been window before, but now it's trim, right? So there's actually a bigger reduction in glass when you take also all the white bands of trim. So when I'm saying at this point, this isn't something like we can figure out in this Zoom meeting, and we have other probably things to do. To me, the solution always is for the designer and the client to go back, study what was approved and what we liked about it, you know, and taking into account the new ideas you have, how do you make it just as good, to look just as good or better than when it looked before? Because now we got cool doors, but we don't have a good looking facade, right? And we want both. I mean, maybe we want cool doors and a good looking facade. So how do you get there? But I don't think we can do it just by saying, well, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? It's kind of literally back to the drawing board.
What if we put a nice awning over the whole thing?
Maybe, I don't know. You know, work through it in your design process and then come to us with the best answer or the couple best answers that you've come up with in terms of with your designer, right?
Because I think even in this one with all the glass, if you put a beam in there, that glass would have had to come down anyway, right?
Yes.
So it wouldn't even look like this. Even if you just put the glass in with that beam there, it's not going to look like the drawing we're looking at here. The glass will be probably below just that one section. It wouldn't be a little section above the top. So we could change the whole thing too.
Yeah, but with these kind of windows, there was no reason to span that whole thing. You know, you could put in some tube steel, you could and support it midway. So right? There's other ways of doing that, but we have to go from where we are now.
Yeah.
And I just want to say is I don't think awnings are a good. I think that would completely change stuff, and I don't think that's great.
What about a trellis?
I think what we're saying, Mr. Zamuto, Charlie, I mean, again, I think what we're saying, I think what Trish is trying to say is like, you're throwing out a lot of different ideas. I think what we're saying is, you know, we need you to go back with your architect, your design, and kind of, you're hearing what the board's saying. We've lost glass. I understand we've got cool doors, but we've got a facade that's slipped backwards. And I think what we're just trying to say is just, you know, take the time between now and the next meeting to kind of rework this and get the facade, kind of do what you can with the facade, with what you and your designers think best, and come back to us with that.
Right. And I think we're just looking to be pointed in the right direction, because nothing against the board. We start like any other project. You start with a plan, then it gets bounced back, and then we present something, it gets bounced back. If we could get on a path that is to remedy, with an idea, it would help us.
I think more glass and less brick is one thing. And an actual, if you can put the doors on a drawing that looks like what the building looks like now, would probably help.
All right.
And,
So
and mine, again, this is just my opinion, but I think the doors under the signage, I would say if there's any way that they don't have to be roll up on those two, if we can do it,
Yeah.
I think it would look better to have some nice looking doors rather than all roll ups all the way across.
I'll do whatever the board wants. I already paid in order for all those windows. I'll just throw them all out and we'll start all over. I don't care.
We don't have to do that.
It's just, all right, can we make a decision on the roof in the back of the building? So then we can move forward on the front? Because if we don't know what direction we're going, it will help us. Like, are we okay with the 2 bump outs? Can you let us know?
Yeah.
Then we can, I think it would help if you like the roof color, then we can put the roof color out and we can redesign the paint colors so that at least we get that right and present something at the next meeting and say, hey, what do you think of these colors? And I'll make mock-ups because I'm getting a feeling nobody likes the paint colors, I assume. If I can
actually, I went out there and I started looking around, and all of those colors that are on there are on houses in that neighborhood.
Yes.
To me, there's houses that match exactly those colors.
So
there's always more than one option, but I'm just one person. So
I think if we can point it in a direction, then I can get going in that direction.
I think right now, okay, so the front's still kind of up in the air. Did everybody on the board get a chance to go look at or review the back with the 2 pop outs?
Mm.
And do we have comments on that?
Well,
because personally, when I looked at it, I didn't even notice it until it was pointed out. Of course, to me, it looks not as like big and bulky, I think. And since that back parking lot, there's trees on one side all the way across, and they're putting more trees in. Personally, I think it looks okay. But I want to hear everybody's opinion.
I'm frustrated, obviously, that it wasn't built according to what was approved, but it's not a deal breaker for me.
I'm okay with the 2 bump outs versus the 4.
Lakshmi, Deepa?
Yeah, I'm okay too. I'm okay with the 2 bump outs instead of the 4.
I am as well. I love the original design, but I think that's definitely not a deal breaker because somehow you can always connect it to the fact that you have 2 of those kind in the front of elevation. So I'm okay with
symmetry.
And then now, Pete, will we have to approve this as a change, or is that just going to be? Do we need to take a vote, and so they can be at least? That's part of the plan, or is that just that when they give us an as-built?
No, it's really in my eyes. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much to the board for kind of championing the meeting. We had a little bedtime issue here, but with that said, no, this would be, in my eyes, it's a minor modification. And if we would like to take a vote, we can take a vote, and I'll write up a memo for you, Dale, to sign, and we can kind of acknowledge that from a formal standpoint. But it's a minor, and it's a field change, but we can take a vote on it, and I will put that, memorialize it in a memorandum.
Okay, so if no one has any other questions, is there a motion to approve the change on the pop out 2 versus 4 on the back of the building?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Trisha Kendall, I.
Lakshmi Krishnan, I.
Deepa Venkatai.
Joe Rubertone, aye.
Gail Buchanan, I passes 5-0-0. At least that problem is, that part is out of the way. Now we can talk about, because they're talking, you want to put the roof on.
Yeah, so I think it would be a big help if we see the roof color that the board likes, because it might not go good with the colors that are on the building. If we could see the roof color, then I could have the roofer come up and do a section, and then we can really look at the colors of the building, because we want it to be as nice as it can be, like everybody wants. And I got a feeling that once we put that roof on, it might not look as good with those colors. I know that. So I mean, if you guys are okay with that, that's something I'd like to do.
Did everybody get a chance to look at the roof colors or have any comments or?
I think the sample we were looking at was not the black that was originally presented, but was it?
It was, Trish, it was called driftwood.
Driftwood.
Yes.
Which is a little deceiving because it is more of a gray than a brown. Was that?
It had some hints, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say.
But it does look good. I have that on my house.
Oh, not that then. Let's not use it.
So much for that, huh?
No, I feel like it was similar to 128, that the black was too black, but what we chose for 128 was a little bit more brown to go with that kind of cream color that's on that building. This color is a little bit more toward the cooler gray side. So it's lighter than that black, but a little different too, so.
I would say, I wonder if it is something that you should segregate before you decide your siding color, because if you feel like you have limitation on what Hardy Board provides on color, if you were putting yourself in a point where, again, you choose a roof color and then you realize the Hardy Board colors don't really work with it, you're going to get yourself into the same loop that you started off with.
But
So if you should choose all together.
but
This is a color we kind of looked at, and I think, Pete, you were out at the site with us, and we kind of looked at it and thought it was okay. But that, you know, it's just, we can change the paint to any color.
at this,
You're limited to the roof colors that are permanent colors, where the color of the building, the paint, is something I can change, and instantly.
because right now where we're at is not redoing the siding. We're at now is if the color changes, they're going to paint it, and they can paint it any of them 110 million colors and shades. So I think that, like Charlie said, the roof colors in that range are really limited, the shingle colors. So if you put that on and we don't like the way it is with the color of siding, we just pick a color and they paint the siding at this point. So I wouldn't worry about trying to get a hardy siding factory color at this point, because I don't think we need to tear it all off.
Yeah, so the easy to paint the building's not a problem. We can paint the building any color, but the one put the roof on, it was stuck with that color of the roof.
Okay, so once you paint it and we don't like it, just keep painting it until we like it.
Paint it till you like it. Easy.
Every meeting we're gonna change the color.
I mean, I think normally that would be a really good suggestion. In fact, it's kind of what we asked for before, is to let's see the whole package of colors, right? The normal part of the design process is to see the whole package of colors. In this case, I think the one we're looking at, it is a very well-known color. I think it looks good. I think it looks good with the gray, that is on the building now, that the sample is there, whether we keep that gray or not. But all the renderings we have seen, like from the approved one, it was gray. And I do think that this roof looks good, that this roof color looks good with gray. and isn't too dark, isn't like the black or the real charcoal ones, that it's in the same tone, maybe slightly darker as 128, but it doesn't have the brown in, as much brown in it. It's a little cooler. So I'm okay doing that, knowing that we'll tweak the color if we need to of the siding, just in the interest of making progress, but that would be the limit of making progress until we have everything else. So,
Joe, any comments on it?
Not on this area.
Well, then I think we can approve, someone wants to introduce a motion to approve the roof shingle of driftwood. Just want to make sure I get it exactly.
And that's the exact name of the shingle we're using, right?
Driftwood.
That is the exact name of the shingle that we
Manufactured by who? Driftwood by who?
Is it Timber Tech or something? Is that what it is, Pete?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just be specific. So we're Driftwood by Timber.
just before we go forward, are Deepa and Lakshmi, are you okay with that philosophy? Are you feeling strongly one way or another? Because yeah, I would like to hear that too. If someone's not comfortable with it, then I want to hear that too.
I think I'm comfortable with it in the way we are approaching this now.
I'm good as well.
Okay, then I'll
Thank you.
entertain a
I think
motion.
that's the best course of our action now to keep this moving.
So is there a motion to approve the driftwood roof color?
So moved.
Secondly,
All in favor?
Trisha Kendall, aye.
Lakshmi Krishnan, aye.
Deepa Venkatai.
Joe Rubertone, aye.
Dale Buchanan, aye. Passes 5-0-0. And then, so that's the back and the roof, and we're down to the windows and the front, correct? That we have issues with. Is there anything else around there that we need to say before we give them their homework for the next time? I would be good if we could see an actual, almost like a photo of the building the way it is, look of how it's built with the windows and doors and everything on it, because we're bouncing around from drawing to drawing, and it changes. When you change the drawing, it looks different.
Yep.
That would be my suggestion, that we have something that at least the drawings represent the building. And
I would agree.
Because there are other things in the building. There was a window that was going to be added into the electrical room. That is not there. There's no window there. It was in the discussion last time.
The door, there appears to be a missing door on the tower side of the building. I think it was an exit door from that stairwell that's sitting on that side.
Yes,
And
it's not cut in yet. That will be in.
Oh, okay. Yep. No, we did. Yeah, we did say that. Yeah, it's possible. It's just not cut in yet. So got it. Okay.
And then there was a door on the plan originally for the electrical room coming outside, but the gas meters are supposed to go on that side of the building. So we don't need a door there, but we need wall space for all the meters, and we want them to be on the back of the building, so they're less noticeable and it'll be easier for us to hide what landscape than versus on the side of the building. So there was no reason for that.
The window we're talking about, I think, was on the other end of the building. There was the greenhouse side. There were 3 windows on that end. I think one of them was going to be, I thought it was going to be utility space or something, and I remember talking about it in the tape. At this point, it's a window at the rear of the building, and I think it was looking into some kind of a mechanical space. Jim, do you have the plans? You put them up?
Hold on one second.
Okay. Yeah. That's the last thing in my mind that
Okay, we can add that window too. I don't know why that missed.
That was to the sprinkler room. Well, no,
Yes, the sprinkler room. That's right. Yep. Thank you.
scroll up.
That- That's on the side with the garage door?
No.
Here,
it's
I've
on
got,
the other side.
I've got it here. I just took the screen. Hold on.
You can hold it.
No, it's here. So the rear of the building, the leftmost window here. I'll draw. Hold on. Can you see when I draw?
Yeah.
That window's,
That window isn't there. And I do think you're right. I think that was a sprinkler room. And this was the door you're talking about with the gas meters.
Yep.
And I remember that. Yep.
so, all right, that window, we'll make sure it goes back in there. I don't know why that's missing.
Okay. And so just since we're here, I'm just going to point out the door. I think you covered it, Charlie, but it was on this side. Hang on. Sorry. Here, that door right there.
Yep, that.
So you're
that door
saying this
needs to be-
hasn't been cut in yet. That's all it is.
What happened, yeah, when the framers sheeted the building, they sheeted over the opening. And because it's been so cold, we haven't been walking around it. But when we were inside, we told the guy to do it, and then the siding guys already came. But yeah, that's gonna be cut open.
Okay. And then just in terms of detail, when we're looking at these renderings that you're going to produce that match the building that's been built, right, with the shingle color that we just did, right? I guess my only ask is let's just make sure that let's just make sure that this is in the picture and has a color on it. Just again, so it's like we're good, and it's a complete discussion. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna stop here.
I hate to go back on this, but I'm wondering if, just because all we have is that one little corner of driftwood, that one little square. Is there a full sample? Was there a full sample at the office?
There's a full sample.
Yeah, Trish, the sample that you and I were both looking at was a full sample of the driftwood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trish,
I
know
had
that the plan that you guys were looking at and the plan we pulled the permits on have brick over those windows and a lintel. And it shows the windows being up off the ground, looks like 8 feet plus 1.6 feet. So it's 9, 8, 9, 10 feet 1 inch. And that's what we have for an open that's out in the field now, is 10 feet. But I know those are the incorrect plans, but that's from what we pulled the permit on.
Do you mean vertically or horizontally?
Hold on, I don't know if you can see this.
Mhm.
Can you not?
Yep.
So on the plans that we used, it shows the windows being 10 feet 1 inch off of the floor of the building. And that's what we built, and that's what's there now. So do you see on this rendering here, there's a lintel over the opening? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
And then there's brick over the top of it.
Yeah, it's just a lot less brick.
Yeah.
This is actually what we built, according to this plan here. But we'll redesign this. We'll come up with something that's gonna look cool and be nice, and hopefully we'll do a couple different options and present it and see which.
If it's possible, because part of what we liked, I remember about the first drawing before we changed the windows to the roll-ups, was the details around some of the doors down there and stuff, where it gave it a little bit of a, rather than just boxed in.
Yeah.
If there's a way to do an option where it keeps those double doors on the entries to see what it looks like, unless that really messes up your floor plan.
So Dale, on the main entry, right, the double doors, one door is the way we ordered this, because our building, the whole building is all keyless entry and everything's electronic, all our doors. The way the double door is, one door is fixed and it's got electric strikes, so there's electricity through it. It looks like a door, but it's a fixed window
Yeah.
on the
But
front.
I'm just talking about the look of having a door and a garage door one next to it, as opposed to having a double doors with the glass around it.
Okay, so
It's
are
a
you,
completely different look. But I'm not saying, I'm not just saying that's how that's
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you have a plan of or why you need the garage door there, then that's okay. But
all right,
to give it a little bit more detail rather than just look like all windows across.
I'm gonna send Pete tomorrow the plans of like all the renderings, that the garage door openings and the door openings. I'll send that to him tomorrow so he can distribute them, just so you can see what we've ordered and get an idea for that. But then Jim and I will meet out at the site and we'll try to redesign this thing. And then we'll come back and present a couple different options. Is that okay?
Yeah. And if and if you can keep the rest of the building looking the way it's actually built, then we'll be able to get a better idea of the whole package.
Yep. So I'd like, maybe I'll let Pete know. Well, let me see when my roofer can come out and do a section of the roof. And then I'll let Pete know, maybe we can do another field trip with everyone and we can look at the paint colors and then get an idea, and I'll bring some sample boards and we'll paint. I'll have some stuff already painted and we'll try to come up with some options that look good. Maybe these colors that are on there will look good, but I don't know. I want to see the roof on before we live with it, you know?
All right, well, I think.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, you know, send Emma and I all the details or whatever Jim and you come up with, and you obviously stay in contact. To summarize, you know, I think we voted to move forward with the driftwood and the 2 bump outs in the rear. And then we'll just continue on the process of analyzing the facade and moving forward slowly and cautiously.
Yep.
So,
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
Any more questions from the board? Any last minute, anything? You know where we're at. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Charlie.
Bye.
Tequila time.
Indeed.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, so are we ready to do the downtown zoning presentation?
Yes. Oh, Mark.
Is this Mark's doing the presentation?
No. No, I am. Like, again, how's everyone doing? So this is a follow-up to the downtown presentation that we had at the last meeting. I reached out to, you know, I had a side conversation with member Joe Rubitone, and I think it's helpful for us just to kind of go through it and look at what actually the downtown zoning district consists of, what the districts are right now. We have an overlay district, which is known as Ashland Downtown District A. Then we also have the two subsections in districts. Yes, Joe.
So, right. So I think instead of just kind of talking about them verbally, right? Like,
You want me to pull them up on screen? Just jump into it.
So high level approaches. Peter, and we're gonna we have these documents. The first is, this is the area of town that's in scope. And this is what we're talking about, and this is only what we're talking about. So that's like the parameters for the discussion. The next thing Peter's going to share, right, is it's a color-coded zoning map of the area in scope, right? And then Peter's or Emma's going to take us through the use table for those zones, right, at a high level. And, you know, and the goal, right, is, after having been introduced to these materials, like, we as a board, all 5 of us, need to agree that between now and the next meeting, we're going to spend some meaningful time with these materials study them, look at them, understand them, right? And sorry, the last two items we're going to look at are this Urban Institute study that was done, making recommendations about downtown. And the last document is the document from our consultant, right? And so this is the consultant's recommendations about what we should change. And I think we need to spend several hours with this body of documents looking at this and thinking, right? And I think tonight we're going to figure out a site visit day, a public meeting. We'll post it where we as a board walk the downtown. I think after we spend the time studying these documents, and I think by all of us committing to doing that homework and looking at these materials and spending that time, I think when we come back to another working session, you know, in our meeting format here, I think we can have a much more meaningful and deep conversation about the recommendations and what we think makes sense and what doesn't, right? So does this seem like a decent process to the rest of you?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
For us to get
organized,
educated at it.
getting organized and getting prepared.
Yeah.
Us getting educated.
And that's not to say that some of you haven't already spent time, but I'm just like focusing our energy. So, and so, you know, Pete, can we take a look? Can we start with that scoping map?
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
Cool.
I was just pulling it up, Joe, and thank you.
Okay,
for
now,
setting the table.
can I ask a curious, hopeful thing before you get started?
Go ahead, Mark, make it quick.
I'll make it quick.
Yes.
I could not email you, Peter Ammer, because email did not work to send out, so I got questions that I said I was gonna do my homework on and work together with. I never got through your email. I wanna know if, and it's not hopefully, I just want to get it out there. Can I put out my questions in this scope as a person that has the knowledge that can understand and put out there to talk with and get answers from? I'm very determined.
You can,
Mark, I mean, Mark, could we go again? I think the public benefits from this walkthrough at some level too. And I know that you're very familiar with this stuff because you've spent a great deal of time over the years with this. But I think what Peter's about to do benefits not just the 5 of us on this board, but anybody who's watching this on TV. I think it helps it frames the discussion. So my ask is, and I'm sorry, Chair, but like, can we go through this first and then can we reserve the questions that you want answers to just either as the topics come up or for the end of the discussion? Is that okay?
Okay. Okay. Wait a second.
The questions are going to dive us right into the heart of the material.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you're hitting what I'm hoping can happen tonight. Can I get my questions out there? Say, you just said at the end, I'd be able to get them out there. You said, yes or no?
Well, it depends. Are these questions for everybody or are these questions for Pete? Because you can talk to Pete anytime during the week or the day. Or
I can't get into the town hall and I can't get emails through anything. So
I call him all the time.
Mark, why can't you get emails?
Because I went on the website today and I told Emma earlier that I tried emailing your name, emailing your address, and go through the planning board directory and could not get through.
Okay, well, my email address, Mark, is.
Well, don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud.
Well, it's a public meeting, Mark, and I work for the public, so I feel comfortable sharing my email.
Now, only that answers my question. It is a public meeting.
Yeah.
I want to get out there.
The town has the right to email me, Mark.
Okay.
So you can have my email address.
So I want to. You send your email to me first, and then I'll bring it back to you.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I'll email you first thing tomorrow.
Okay, and for this subject now at the end, I went through everything that's on the website about the downtown. Those are the questions I'm going to bring up.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen and we can do this. I made some And now we
Peter breaking up for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, he's breaking up. Yeah.
Peter,
the interactive map. And please,
Peter,
Peter,
he's disconnected.
comes off of our GIS from people's GIS.
Can we send him
Peter.
a chat?
Peter,
Pete, we can't hear anything you're saying, Pete.
Listen, chat.
Frozen.
Joe asked is
Pete,
Peter,
really
stop.
a great
Stop, Peter.
question.
Stop.
Stop.
In our
He can't see us. I don't think he can see us or something.
He probably has a screen on something else.
He's gone now.
Okay.
Okay.
And real quick, you have to start over, Pete. We lost you
We
way
heard
at the
nothing.
beginning.
Peter,
Now you're muted.
Peter, you might want to turn off your video if you're screen sharing, just to free up some bandwidth.
okay. What am I doing, Emma?
Turn your
Are
video.
you trying to screen share?
Video.
Yeah, I tried to screen share and it just dropped.
Turn your
Yeah,
video
so
off.
turn
when
off
you
your
screen
video.
share.
Turn off my video. Okay.
Video.
And if that doesn't help, I'm happy to put it up and you can drive. But
No, I'll stop my video. So I'm sorry about that. So
But just watch us, and when we all start waving at you, might be an issue.
I didn't even know. I didn't even get it. So, okay, I'll start over. So when you read through the zone, so when you take a look at the zoning, which is section 8.5 in the Ashland Downtown District, one of the first things that come to light is there's 3 subsections. There's A.
Are
There's
you sharing
B.
something, Peter? Because we don't.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I
can't
am.
see.
You cannot see it.
No.
You're not sharing anything.
Screen. I'm sorry. Can you see my screen?
It's coming. There.
Now
it
we
is.
Yes,
can.
now there we go.
All right. Sorry. So as you get into the section 8.5 in the Ashland Downtown Zoning Districts, the one thing that you first notice is there's 3 different subsections. Section A is more or less an overlay district, which I kind of hashed out in black. I outlined in black and I put hash marks in it. So that is that's an overlay district in the underlying zoning. And I would say most areas is industrial zone. So this whole swath of land going down Pleasant Street is zoned, the underlying zoning is industrial. This is 10 to 50 Main Street, which is zoned industrial. This area here where the farmer's market is and where Needham Bank is, underlying zoning, it's within the Ashland ADD zone. This area over here, if this street is Concord Street, this is where the barber shop is, I believe, or a little bit further down. And then also this area right here where Town Hall is actually in the overlay district. This underlying zoning where the Town Hall is zoned downtown commerce, right? So one way to think about this is the overlay district, ADDA is an overlay district and it overlaps with either A, industrial land, or B, downtown commerce zoning, which is the base layer. And that's that is one of the aspects that our consultant MAPC is bringing to light. In asking the question, should the ADD zone become the base zoning within these districts? Does it make sense in this area right here where the town hall is leading down to the corner of Summer Street? Does it make sense in this area over here? I think
Peter,
it does.
So Peter,
Yes.
can you go to the table of uses and go to the ADD zone and show us what is allowed in the ADD zone and what it means, right? So again,
I just
all I'm
want to
trying to
finish
do.
on this one point. Is you from another standpoint, Joe, right? I just want to lay this out before we get into the table of uses.
Okay.
When you look at this map here, which is a zooming into the Ashland downtown area, you can see that I highlighted ADD-B and ADD-C. In this scenario, these are the base zones that make up the entire ADD process, right? Which would be this area over here, going down Summer Street. The biggest area, parcel in this area would be the Legion Hall. Then parcels over here going down Concord Street. And then from a standpoint, ADDC is all this area here going down Alden Street. And then this area up off of Cherry Street in at the corner of Pleasant, mostly residential housing, I would say.
So Peter,
Okay.
what is the
So I'm
current
just gonna
base zone
switch
now?
over. Yes.
Yeah, so Peter, which is the current base zone?
ADD-B and ADD-C are base zones.
So we don't have one base zone now. We have two base zones now. Is that what we're
We
saying?
have two bases. So
Okay.
if you look at the ADD section, we have two base. It's split up into three sections: A, B, and C. A is an overlay district. B and C are base zones. A is the overlay district, which covers either A, industrial land, or B, downtown commerce. Looking at downtown commerce, again, I hatched this area here. This is zone downtown commerce. This is where the Needham Bank is, the land that was purchased by the town, which is now where the farmers market resides. This land here where the fire station is, the police station, Lunkers, everything north of this train tracks is all considered downtown commerce. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I think the next question is, I know Joe already mentioned, I think that's what Joe was trying to mention. So what are the benefits or what's the idea behind deciding the overlay as a base zone? What are the advantages, or what are we trying to get to by making the overlay the base zone?
I think you add clarity, and you add clarity for developers, right? To actually look at the zoning to say, okay, this is what the downtown wants. I believe that having the downtown commerce, if you read the downtown commerce zoning districts, it is very similar to the ADD overlay districts. And so I think the matter is, do we add clarity, making it the base zoning, I would say. Yeah. I mean, allowing for mixed uses.
I mean, let me just ask this rhetorical question, food for thought. Is there any particular reason why our downtown zoning already has so many? The reason we have this patchwork of stuff is historical in nature, right? But like, if that's considered downtown, why is it not one zone that defines what we want in our downtown? That just clarifies this greatly. Like, is there any reason, if the town agrees on what it wants downtown, that it's not just one zone that covers it all? And we get rid of, like, there's 4 different zones mixed in here: overlay, base, like, like, why does it need to be that complicated? I'm not an expert. You know, there may be very good reasons why, but I don't understand it. And I think it would be good to talk about what each of those definitions mean, if you could show that to us, if you're there.
No, I think, Joe, just to answer your question, I think it depends a lot on what the historical land use for each parcel was.
Yep.
And really, I think it was the vision of what the town would saw for the future of the downtown when this downtown was adopted, this overlay district was adopted.
Got it.
Prior to this overlay district, you probably had a downtown commerce zone which ran right up against residential B, right? Which is this blue area, right?
Yeah.
Stone Park, SD Street, Central Street. This is all residential B, right? And this is multi-use, multi-unit, housing, right? And so therefore, I believe they put this, they made B and C base zoning districts to add a level of, I would say, to give the a zone of transition between downtown commerce and
the residential.
And residential B.
Got
And
it.
it gives in the ADD zone gives you many different options, right? And so it's not a bad thing. They did it's correctly zoned, but and the one thing it's there and it adds a level of transition, I would say, and which is
Great.
common.
Great color. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, this is not my native thing, so that's great.
Yeah, it's all new.
And
right?
Peter, what do towns of is it like what do towns of our size do? Do they just have one base zone, or do they have like what we have currently, a zone B, a zone C, or do they just have one base zone that covers all?
They currently have, many towns have different things, and it all depends upon what someone has. I mean, what the planning process and or what the town's goals were at the time, so zoning is always a fluid thing, right? A lot of towns could have, a pre-act, you zone a downtown area with the purpose of attracting development, attracting investments, I would say, right?
Okay.
But you're also looking to organize your downtown to bring, investments into the community and to add to the viability, and in most cases, you're always looking at, you're looking at viability, you're looking at health, you're looking at economic development, you're looking at, you're trying to make ways to make your community better, but you're also trying to respect the historical aspects of how your downtown developed, right? What is the relationship between the buildings and the street? When we talk about this downtown, you also want to think about, the relationship between that the pedestrians have with the buildings and the sidewalks. You also want to talk about how traffic, it moves through the downtown. And regarding the town of Ashland, a big piece of the downtown is the train that cuts right through the downtown, right? And what's the relationship between the train and the downtown? And you can look at it, and when you do look at the downtown fairly closely, you see the remnants of that within the old train station, the historical train station, which is in the center of town, the geographical center of town, which acted as the hub of the community. And from there, everything kind of spread out, and it was surrounded by multi-unit housing, which also in the main street connected to, in this case, 10 to 50 Main Street, which was a major industrial mill where people, worked, and that's where commerce was generated, I would say, for the downtown.
Yeah.
And so,
the interesting thing about that, like, there's a picture in the hallway outside of Peter's office where you can see the 10 to 30 Main Street, and there's actually a little church in the empty lot, and so when we talked before about that being kind of a gateway building, it used to be something else there. It used to be this nice little piece. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how the things that are not there anymore also influence, kind of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's new things there's and Trish, that's a great point, right? And there's new elements to the downtown that are always changed the downtown, right? Last year we had the harbor, I'm not the Harbor Walk, I'm sorry, the Mill Pond Bridge, which was built, right? That's a new element to the downtown, right? And it opens up, you know, the pond, the waterfall, and how does that tie into the downtown? And we take that turn.
Am I the only one hearing Peter?
Bank. No, I'm off.
Step back. You're on. You're back now.
You're back.
I'm back.
Go
We
back
keep
to if you live
losing
in
you.
20 seconds.
You think you live in the city, you have good internet.
It's
Okay.
time for an upgrade, dude. You got to call Fios. You need to get the gigabit.
I know. I got 5G. I got news for you, Joe.
You need to get rid of the dial-up.
Well, whatever.
Well,
Maybe we shouldn't go to 5G now.
oh, so where'd he go?
Am I still here?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I stopped my screen to try to cut down on the internet use. But I'm going to share this. I'm going to share ADD overlay district. I'm sorry, the zoning bylaws, which I have to find real quick. 1 minute. Okay. So Joe, this is the element I think Joe was kind of talking about. And this is the actual bylaws, right? And when we talk about this, the purpose, right? The purpose is, and this kind of goes back to what Mark was stating, right? Is to provide the framework to encourage the growth and development of a successful downtown that will promote a village-style redevelopment in a mixed commercial, retail, and residential uses. You know, you see the walkability in the densities, all these terms in the purpose of behind the ADD zone, I think are really the steering, the steering element of what we should be thinking about when we are starting to propose changes, right? To broaden the tax base, the long-term viability of the down. Is everyone
what's cool looking at what's cool looking at that, right, is if you think about, the farmers market's presence in I don't know exactly which of the four there, but like that's a great example of something that's been created that has done almost everything in that paragraph, right? And so it's cool to see that link up, right?
Also, I think, the bagel table is a great example. That building, that development has brought many of those elements.
Yep. Okay. So,
my internet's unstable again.
We can hear you.
Okay. So as I scroll down here, Joe, I think this is what you were trying to get to, right? Table of uses. Is that correct?
Yeah. This is good. This is right in. Yep.
Okay. This is what you were looking for, right? So the table of uses, right? And I think Joe is really kind of saying, let's scrutinize what are the uses and how are the uses set up.
Let me just clarify that. I mean, I think from a homework perspective, we need to read all of 8.5. Like we should try to thoroughly read this whole section. I think that this is the meat of it, but I think getting a comfortability with all of 8.5 is like critical for this discussion, my opinion.
And so just overall kind of to keep it, at a fairly high level, right? You see 2-family and single-family homes and dwellings, right? In C, which we're talking about that transition from single to two to residential B into the downtown commerce, right? Obviously, we don't want those in the downtown commerce districts, right? Which would be the underlying zoning districts. But we want them in C, which are on the outskirts of the downtown. But they're creating that transition of budding residential B, which also has some regulations concerning the number of units and the square footage in the area, right? Where C you're using this zoning bylaw within that district. So you're creating that transformation from residential into a denser village style development.
And so N means no, not allowed, not permitted. Yes means yes, permitted. And SP means special permit.
Correct. And so here, another example, a mixed residential and commercial businesses. The town wants to promote this. So they're allowed in all 3 districts. And I'll just take a couple more. We can kind of, it goes on. A bank and financial institutions, this is a great example. Needham Bank, they came in and they got a special permit. They're in the ADD, they're in A, they're in the overlay district. So they took advantage of this. They zoned through this overlay, right? And they came and they got a special permit proposal, and you know what their use is, I would say.
And so like another, like just again, an illustrative comment here, outdoor storage of products for sale, special permit, the footnote 2. What's footnote 2?
I gotta look closely at that, Joe. And that could be a special permit to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay. I mean, does that, does that make sense? Would we want the zoning board of appeals to allow the outdoor storage of products for sale without it coming to the planning board, right? Given all the time and energy, I don't know, not sure.
And also, like, some of these kind of overlap. So if they have one with a residential and commercial.
And this is another.
Some of these, like if there's one with a residential and commercial, if they put different kinds of commercial in there, like food or something that's special permit, is that included with the, they have to get a special permit to open a restaurant in there in a building that's already built? Or do these just?
So Dale, when you look at this, the biggest difference is outdoor seating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great conversation to have, because with COVID, outdoor seating has been a big, one of the biggest things that have been able to continue, right?
Yeah.
And so should outdoor seating should that be allowed by right, or does that need a special permit?
I mean, to me, I think zoning around COVID is pretty exceptional. And like, that's an example where if you have a problem with zoning in the pandemic, like the municipalities have found ways to work with restaurants. I'm not sure zoning towards that makes sense, does it?
Probably not, Joe, but I think it's a good conversation to have.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, here's another one that jumps off the page to me. Does anybody think that we should have a restaurant fast food with drive up in A or B? No. Shouldn't be special permit. It should be no. Like, that's just an example of why does the town choose, nobody, I have not heard in any of the forums I've been to that these zones where we want to drive through in downtown, right? So like, that's just something that's a risk in our zoning that should be changed. It should be no, right? I think most people for ADD A and B would say, no way, right? Like, that jumps off the page to me.
Well, the bank has a drive-through.
It's not a fast food restaurant though. But touche.
I'm just saying.
I know.
If you eliminate it completely, then I guess we can't.
No, my comment is the fast food. That's my point.
Well, what's fast food? What's that? We have to categorize
McDonald's.
that.
Like if McDonald's bought Santander Bank and said, we're going to put a McDonald's in Santander Bank. Is that what we want for downtown Ashland?
Or Dunkin' Donuts.
Or Dunkin' Donuts? I mean, now, if you said like, the ice cream place over on West Union Street, Murphy's, right? Now, if you said the gentleman who owns Murphy's wants to buy Santander Bank and move Murphy's over there, you know, I don't know. There's no drive-through at Murphy's, right? But like that's a, you know, I don't have the answers. I'm just trying to talk this out, and like I think these are the conversations. So I'll stop.
Yeah, and I'm just bringing that up because if it's an automatic no, that's a definite.
It's a great point.
Finality. If it's a special permit, it has to be talked about what it is and if it fits in.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yep.
In special permits,
I wouldn't want a McDonald's there.
Yeah.
Maybe a Burger King, but
yeah, that'd be okay.
Joe and Dale, on that question, so you feel like it's a no because it's like Ashland downtown is more like a village redevelopment, and McDonald's and that kind of fast food doesn't really work with that concept and historic presence? Is that why you would think that it should be a no?
Well, I think because if somebody comes in, like you said, Murphy's, and is that going to be categorized as fast food? If you can drive up and get a burger, is that going to be, and maybe or maybe not? I mean, and also like, what's the one, Dulce Leche over there? They were thinking about doing the Dairy Queen building so you could drive through up there and get, but if somewhere like that had stuff available and they wanted to put a drive-through, you know, just something where they could bring food, not even really making it there. I mean, those are all things that might want to be talked about, how certain things might be okay.
Right. So Deepa, like my reaction to the fast food drive-through was, yeah, we shouldn't have that be allowed by special permit. But Dale's pointing out that like, well, if somebody wanted to open a Murphy's, maybe not a drive-through Murphy's, but wanted to do a Murphy's where Santander Bank is, where it's a locally run business, having it be a special permit enables us to at least consider and entertain that. Whereas if you change it to no, which was my kind of gut reaction, you can't. And so like Dale's point's well taken that, you know, saying outright no versus special permit, I mean, like you can see with this, like there's a lot with each one, right? And I think that this is the discussion that, yeah.
The special permit gives you that opportunity to present your case in the example of Murphy's, at least, instead of like just saying no, which completely blocks out that opportunity.
Right. If it's a McDonald's, again, they have to get a special permit, it's going to probably be a different conversation than if it's, you know, Tom Smith, then I'm going to do a Murphy's, right? So,
yeah.
Anyway, again, I think these are really good conversations, and I think, you know, I don't, you know, we need to figure out how we're going to structure our future discussions on this, but like really digging in and thinking about this critically on our own, and then coming back as a group and, you know, starting to work this, I think is really what we're trying to get at.
Because there are some situations like a bank or financial institution and up against a residential is a definite no, then that makes sense to me. They can move it a little more down towards the commercial part of town, but to put that
maybe
right
in a
next to a house.
transitional zone, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, Peter.
We need to all look at we all need to look at all of these and get our opinions on what we think about how that's set up and what they're getting at. If it accomplishes what we want.
Yes, and it's not just about, obviously with MAPC, we talked a lot about obviously the design of the buildings, right? And I think we had some great conversation around styles of the building should be, right? I think the next step now is to talk about, okay, what are the districts, right? And in this scenario, we have ADD's Ashland Downtown District, which is a great district, right? And it has 3 subsections. One's an overlay district, And the question is, what are the base zoning districts underneath that ADDA zone? And now the second question is, do these uses make sense? Do we want to see these uses in these parcels? And let's just look through them. And I think that's how much, we can kind of go through it without, everyone kind of taking the time and putting notes and saying, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm not thinking.
It might be able to combine, like you said, and make some of the overlays, combine them into just a base district in certain parts where it doesn't blend in with the residential, and just maybe get it down to a little less patchiness.
Yeah, I mean, we could take the base, take out the overlay district, right? And make it the underlying district.
Yeah.
I believe we have the A is an overlay district, and it gives us the ability to extend the ADD zone down to the train station. And I think that must have been the theory behind it. Let's extend it without changing the underlying industrial land use, right? Which is a very much so has some industrial uses that do fit along that roadway, right?
Yeah.
And so that's probably the concepts and the theories behind it. But let's say, okay, does it make sense for these other parcels? And maybe it's time to change it. Maybe we stay the same. But I think the number one thing is to have a conversation about it. Let's analyze it, and let's make sure it works for the town of Ashland.
Okay, so homework, we're gonna have homework. Right, Joe?
Yeah, and then does anybody have any questions on the bylaws themselves?
Well, I think
we need to read them. Mhm.
Go ahead, Lex.
Yeah, I think we need to spend some time and read them and get familiar with the provisions.
That's a good idea. And also it's popped into my head again because it came up when we did that Alden Street thing. What Trish brought up is some of those things specify 3 stories, and it has different heights, 32 feet, 45 with a special permit. If we want to maybe look at just making a maximum height change in some of those areas, rather than just 3 stories, and whatever the underlying is can.
As long as they're in the scope, right? Our scope is just in downtown zoning that Peter laid out.
Yeah, because I think they were in like the C district, the right on the edge there, the C district, and there was a question of, while that building's pretty high, well, it's 45 or 42 feet with a special permit, but that seems kind of high. Maybe we just need to limit it to a certain maximum height on some of those rather than 3, just clarify some of that stuff. If we want to keep it down, make some changes like that. Mute, Peter, mute.
That's a great point, Dale. What does this fit in, right? So I think the next step after we kind of all take some time and review this stuff, and what I would like to do is propose a walking tour of the downtown all together, and now we can actually have clipboards, we can print out the maps, we can look at the parcels, and we can say, okay, does this actually make sense on the ground? And as we have these discussions about land uses and design, we can walk the streets and get a better understanding, does this fit, right? And I'm sure this is the same process that the town went through when this process was adopted. And I think it just makes sense to do this, right? And have a tour, and it would be a posted public hearing or public meeting, and we would meet at town hall in the morning and the afternoon.
And we all get matching clipboards?
Yes.
We can get matching clipboards. I was gonna make sure I was gonna make a joke about the weather, but you beat me to the punch with the clipboards. But no, let's do this, and let's do this correctly, and let's go through this process. And I think you know, one thing is, you know, we'll send a couple dates around, you know, at the earliest we can meet, you know, maybe,
And also, I agree that everybody needs to do some homework, including me, because some of this stuff pops up and then I have questions, okay, and then the next day I'm thinking about it and I thought, I could have asked this, or I wonder about that. So to get more of an idea before we meet, at least for me, that's going to help.
yeah.
Yeah, I think also just keeping in mind questions that we've had that have come up as we looked at Alden Street, as we look at this Main Street building, as we look at 128, like what issues did we have in process or after the fact that maybe we could have mediated or eliminated, you know, by having a different kind of zoning or based on what we really want to happen.
Maybe we can put siding colors in there.
Okay. Please stop.
Getting late, Joe.
It's way too late for that comment, Joe.
Okay, sorry.
So with that said, you know, just to wrap up, because I think we're at the end, and I think we all kind of get the point. We need to look at this and take get some, you know, obviously, as Joe said, use the term, do some homework. So I think, you know, Emma and I can send out maybe like a poll to see what days or people are available, and we can kind of get that moving. The other element that I would like that I know I asked Emma to circulate, and Emma and I thought it would be a great idea to circulate, was the Urban Land Institute report that was done by the town on the downtown. And so I think that also brings up some great facts about downtown Ashland, about development patterns, and kind of can shed some light for all of us. If we take a quick breeze through it and reread it, that would kind of, I would say, dust off some ideas or some questions that we may or may not have. And could create some good conversational points.
There's one other document that I'm thinking of that I think would be useful to have on the table as we kind of do this homework, right? And I know there's been a number of public forums in the community center saying, what do we want in our downtown? We hired those professional folks. They sat in, they listened, they gathered, and they ultimately came back and presented a report to the town of Ashland. It was a number of years ago at this point, number of years being one, you know, not more than one, so 2 to 3 years ago, right? I think that is representative of what the people, right, have said that they want in the downtown. And so I think that's a guiding document as well, you know, certainly alongside that ULI report, right? And it's like, well, what did people say they wanted? And I certainly think that this process needs to reflect, you know, not just what high-minded folks like ULI have professionals, but also, you know, what people have spent time and energy, you know, providing for feedback. So if that's something we can get our arms or hands on, Peter, and you and Emma could bump that out to us for part of the homework, I think that'd be really useful.
We can take care of that.
Cool.
Okay. So that kind of wraps up what I was going to say tonight.
Okay.
So
I think we have someone who wants to comment.
Yeah, we got to let Mark ask his questions for
now,
sure.
But here's the thing, Mark, real quick, I'm not trying to stifle you, but if you have questions just for Pete or Emma, if you could do that through email or you know, he's down in town hall all the time, and go ahead and let us know your comments and stuff. But if it's a direct question about anything technical and you need to just talk to Pete, you can do that with him one-on-one. You're muted.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mark Sony. Well, this is going to be out here on this call because Pete hit it all out there. And you stop scrolling down on the tables, which I was hoping you would kind of continue to do. It's okay. Now, I do have questions that's going to relate. And it's going to be through the chairman all through, and maybe the boards may not understand these answers. Now, the downtown zoning, I was looking at the zoning map of 2018. The one that you just had up without the, was that when you had up with had the lines that was all designed. Can that downtown, is that going to be a downtown commerce, or is that going to be just how you think it's going to stay? That's for all the board to opinionate on, and to Peter to say, because Peter knows where I'm coming from, but I can't go through email, and I can't get in the town hall. So this is happening here tonight. That's one.
Can I respond at
Sure,
least
sure,
from my simple perspective?
sure.
So I think it's a good question. I don't think we have the answer to it yet. I think after we study it, do the homework, and after we do the site visit, I think we'll have probably a more informed opinion. That's my answer to that question, Mark.
Yeah, right now we're doing research and homework and getting everybody getting their heads straight on it. Our next meeting is going to be more of a moving forward. Is that, am I right, Joe? Nod?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and that's why I want to get this out here for that next meeting, and to everybody here. That's why I need to get through this tonight. On that zoning map, block number 14, that had all the parts in pink that you showed, can that be changed from what it is now, or can ADD-C be added to that? Anybody can try.
I mean, I Mark. So I think that any of the things that you said could possibly happen. I think they're within the realm of possible, right? But I don't think anybody here is making any specific recommendations or saying anything. Peter, is that fair? That's not outside the bounds of rational thought there?
Yeah, no, that's
Need
not
more
outside the
information.
bounds. And it could get changed. We could propose a change, a district change. We could just change the uses, Mark, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and my on that end of this question, these are all short questions, by the way. For me, you already said it's industrial and can go into a mixed commercial and commerce. You brought that up in the map. And that's why I want to have everybody understand that map is a somewhat zone Bible for the future until we get through a town meeting to change that zone.
Right.
Okay. That's
all this board does. All this board does is study and make recommendations to the townspeople. And if the town people agree, then the zoning changes. If the town people say, you guys are off base, they vote no, and it doesn't happen.
Right.
All we're doing is making recommendations.
Right. And from the September 18th downtown initiative, anybody on the board, plan and whatever, is there any progress in that report from the 2018 initiative that's on the town? All these questions came from the town website, by the way.
I don't know the answer to that one. I'm sorry.
Peter, Emma?
Peter?
I'm not. I don't think I have the correct answer for you tonight, Mark.
And I take it Emma's probably got the same answer. Okay, so that's done. How about for the downtown revitalization project? Anybody on the board understand that? Or can answer the question?
What's the question, Mark?
Okay, the question says that
the question. This is getting a little bit long in the.
I'm trying to speed it up, and I can't speed up without slurring my words. From the downtown revitalization project, which should have started this month, January. The steps 1 through 4, which is on the website, has water services, electrical Eversource, faults, electrical salts, utility manholes. Has any of that been started in the town to help the downtown zone and understand what businesses and what can happen in ADD with Talkins? Can anybody on the board, planner, assistant planner. Can anybody say anything about that?
Mark, the work that's done, that's not related to the zoning study that we're doing right now, Mark.
Okay, then I'll skip that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
From the zoning board chapter 282, section 20 districts.
Mhm.
Yes or no? Can that,
What's the question?
what's the question? What's the question? Okay. In the second paragraph 2.4.4, locations and boundary lines. This is in the website too and on paper. And the 2.4.5 lot splits, are those district lines being used to help the zones?
Yes, those would make the current zones, Mark.
Okay. Planning board zoning 3.0 uses the regulations for special permits, and you said yes on the tables.
Yes.
Is that still going to be the same?
I don't think we know the answer to that yet, Mark, until we've done the homework and made any recommended changes. Nothing is going to change. We don't know what will change until we get through the process.
And okay, for the grants and stuff like that. 9.4 of the bylaws, will they work together?
Well,
That's what zoning came from.
Well, 9.4, Mark, and I have my bylaws and I'm flipping through it right now. Is all about the special permits, I believe.
Yes.
Site plan review.
And 9.4 is the guiding criteria for site plan review.
Yes.
So yeah, site plan review.
Uh-oh.
In site plan review is a different process than a special permit.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to answer this. So what's your question?
That was the question, and the answer, and by those tables is special permit, and that 9.4 for the bylaws is included in those special permits in certain contents.
Well, if site plan review process is triggered, then yes, process will be triggered as long with the special permit process within the ADD district when you do a redevelopment process, Mark. This is all fairly common when someone makes an investment within a property.
And right, this is what you got to do the homework on with these common things. Last one. From the principal use tables, where it says BA, there's the BA ones, some of the examples, it was from those tables that you had up, but you didn't scroll down low enough. I got non-educational, general services, personal services, coffee shops, all that's listed there. Is that going to change, or is that going to stay the same?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, Mark.
Not at that point.
So Mark, just to jump in here, Mark, BA, so you have your use tables mixed up. There's a use table in section 3, and then there's a use table in the ADD zoning bylaws.
Yeah, I'm at 3.24.
Yep, and that is a use table in the general bylaws, and a BA stands for a Board of Appeals special permit.
Okay, thank you. So that answers that, and that was what I wanted to get through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, any other comments on that? Everybody know what we got to do? Pete's gonna round up a time, get everybody together for the big trail hike around town, or if we can get some kind of a shuttle bus, maybe.
No, it's gonna be COVID friendly deal.
So just to lay this out. So Peter's going to send surveys. It's going to be a posted public meeting. We're going to do a hike through town, which will be great and will be certainly helpful and productive. I would say our next scheduled meeting, we should, again, my opinion through the chair, I think given 2 weeks to the next meeting, do we think we can get through the homework as a board so that we could, whether or not we have the field trip between now and the next meeting, we at least have studied this stuff to begin digging in at the next meeting for some portion of our meeting.
And Joe, studying is all the zoning, the bylaws that we have, right?
It's studying the
Downtown.
scope map that Peter sent. It's
Mhm.
studying the zone, the color coded zoning, which is showing, right? And then it's studying the section 8 that Peter's outlined. It's looking at the urban ULI report,
Mhm.
looking at the consultant feedback that we had at the last meeting. And then the last thing is that 2018, results of the info gathering sessions.
The survey that we did. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like looking at all of that stuff. That's the homework as best you can get through it all.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, so we'll get all that information and we will, I guess, maybe what's on the next meeting agenda? Anything yet?
I'll
Paint
take a look
color.
at it, right? I'll send out a
Siding colors, probably.
12 Pond Street, yep.
That's like on every meeting we had for the last. So if we could, I think it would be good to start discussing this, just take a little bite out of it. And then we may have even more questions when we walk through town. But just if everybody can start looking at all this information as soon as you can get it out to us, Pete and Emma, that's what we're missing. And just kind of go over it, and at least especially anywhere that you have concerns or ideas, if everybody, focus on what you want to focus on, and then we'll just start it and get what we can started at the next meeting and then go from there.
Okay.
All right. So any other administrative matters, future meetings, public hearings, come?
The next meeting will be on the 11th. Do people want to try to do the walk through the downtown prior to the 11th or the week leading up to the 11th? Or do we want to have the meeting on the 11th and try to meet sometime in mid-February?
It doesn't matter to me, really. I think maybe it might be good to go one meeting and start it. Okay. We might come up with some more questions, and anybody, of course, anybody's free to just go drive around or go by it or go through some of those areas if and just kind of see what's there.
And I'm happy if someone is looking that has some time, I'm happy to grab a cup of coffee and walk through the town as well. I'm in town hall Monday through Thursday, every day. So feel free. Okay.
All right.
Do we want to move on to the minutes?
Yeah, sure.
No minutes.
We don't have any.
No minutes because there was only one meeting in December. So this is
Okay.
There's nothing. So anything else? If anybody want to stay on the board, Trish?
I think a few things have come up about people that might be interested in placing people on different committees if they're interested. I had asked Dale about we talked about a small committee if they form one for the new Main Street building. They talked about a 3-person committee. I don't actually know if that's going to happen, but I expressed to Dale that I might be interested in that. And Preston Crow obviously sent out that meeting to see if anyone was interested in the trail.
Charge trail.
Right, the committee, that they were looking for some planning board input. So I didn't know if we wanted to, is there anything we need to do about that?
I sent everybody the information. I think everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
So the Upper Charles Trails Committee is looking for a planning board member to sit in on a committee to provide some feedback.
I think, didn't he say, the email said they're looking for members and they would like to have somebody off the planning board if they're interested. It's not like it's not going to happen if there's no one, but it might be something that one of us is interested in. And so he was asking if anybody on the planning board was interested, because I think he would like to have someone. there.
It's a noble cause, but I can't grab anything more than I have right now.
That's fine. Everybody has the information. If you want to, fine. If you can't, then you can't. Anything else from anybody else? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to let Joe talk.
Thanks for humoring me on this homework thing. I understand that everybody's super busy and but I think it will be really good when we get through it. So thanks, Dale.
Humoring you? You're not taking this
Humoring.
seriously, Joe? No, this is all good stuff. It needs to be done. There's a lot of stuff, and that's part of our job, I think, is to get this sorted out and find out and present it to the town and let them decide in what direction they want to go. All right, so anyone want to make a motion to end the meeting at 9:51 p.m.?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Trisha Kendall, I.
Lakshmi Krishnan, I.
Deepa Venkatai.
Joe Robertone, aye.
Joe Buchanan, aye. That passes 5-0-0. Thank you and good night.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Night.
Night.
Thanks.